on, guys? Chris Barter of First Productions here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be going over the year review for 2025. Yes, that's right. 2025 has been a fantastic year for rail fanning. We've got a lot of cool things to show you guys in this video. So buckle up and get ready for a whole lot of cool trains. Again, you're watching the Chris Barter First Productions channel and the year review for 2025. Let's do this. On January 11th, 2025, we would find ourselves in Altoona, Pennsylvania, filming this Norfolk Southern 36A with the CSX 3194, the spear of our law enforcement, trailing on this manifest train. This was the first time I've ever seen the law enforcement engine, which would be CSX 3194. It was my first time seeing it, so I had to include it on this list. And yeah, that is pretty cool right there. About a week later, on January 18th, 2025, I would find myself at Shadow Junction filming this CSX M415. But here's something pretty special about it. We have this EMD switcher trailing on the back of this train. And I thought that was pretty cool. It was definitely a very, very interesting catch. Definitely one that I think deserves to be on this list. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool right there. And definitely a very nice surprise. So yeah, that's a pretty cool train right there. A little later that day, we would catch this CSX B729 with Union Pacific leading and BNSF being the rear DPUs on this train. This was really cool and very, very, very interesting, and definitely is well deserved on this list. Our last train for that day would be NS41K with the Nickel Plate Road Heritage Unit trailing. This was pretty cool, and a heritage unit's a heritage unit, and a heritage unit is always well deserved on this list for the best catches of 2025. So I think that's a pretty cool train right there. A week later, on January 25th, 2025, I would find myself on the Colebrookdale Railroad trying and attempting to chase the Norfolk Southern High Hood GP38-2 that they had. But unfortunately, we wouldn't get that, and we would get, instead, a leased Norfolk Southern GP38-2, which is rare on itself, which is why I'm including it on this list, because it's not every day that you see a Norfolk Southern GP38-2 pulling a passenger train. And for the Colebrookdale, leasing this locomotive is even more rare. So that is why I'm including it on this list. In February of 2025, we would be chasing the Reading and Northern Iron Horse Rambles, or in this case, the Iron Horse Winter Rambles, pulled by our good friend Reading and Northern 2102. This was really cool, and it was pretty cool to see a wintry version of this train, and you know, catching this train in the snow and wintry weather like this. It was kind of neat. So yeah, that was a pretty cool train right there. And you know how 2102 is, folks. We've been through this many times. Here's a little bit of awesome action from 2102 from this chase. few weeks later, I would find myself in Richland, Pennsylvania, filming CSX M371, the NS Harrisburg line. Now, the reason why this train is taking the Harrisburg line is due to the Howard Street Tunnel being shut down for all train traffic while the tunnel is being remodeled. Norfolk Southern has offered CSX to run their trains on the Harrisburg line. So it made interesting catches on the Harrisburg line, so we decided to catch as much CSX as we could. And this would be our first CSX train we would see on this line while the Howard Street Tunnel is getting remodeled. So yeah, this was pretty cool. On March 22nd, 2025, we would find ourselves outside the Richmond Railroad Museum filming these old-fashioned rail cars / rolling stock. Here we have a Seaboard caboose, a baggage car, and also a Seaboard boxcar. But yeah, this was pretty cool. And yeah, there's the boxcar right there. But yeah, this was pretty cool, and I haven't seen much of the Seaboard system. So yeah, this is pretty neat. A few days later, I would find myself in Lansdowne, Maryland, filming this CSX B773 with some pretty interesting CN power. Now, the engineer did not give me a horn salute in this video, but that's okay. We weren't really there for him. We were here for the awesome CN power. A CN SD75i and a CN C44-9W. That was pretty cool. And it's the older CN logo, which makes it even cooler. This was filmed on my iPhone. It was the only camera I had at the time, so we went along with it. That's pretty cool. CN C44-9W and a CN SD75i. That was pretty cool. And that was the first SD75i I have ever seen. So make that another plus. On April 4th, 2025, I would find myself in Jessup, Maryland, filming the old Federal Signal Thunderbolt sirens that they have. These are Federal Signal Thunderbolt 1000Ts. Now, I like sirens, but my favorite type of tornado siren is the Federal Signal Thunderbolt. Specifically the 1000Ts and the 1003s. But we have 1000Ts here. And, again, I like tornado sirens, but I like my Thunderbolts. And this is definitely a piece of history here. These are a piece of Cold War history. And I definitely thought they were worth a mention. Even though it's not train related, I figured I would put the Federal Signal Thunderbolt in the video. So, there you go. Federal Signal Thunderbolt 1000T, everybody. On April 6th, getting back to trains now, we would film the Strasburg 89, aka Canadian National 89, which is a mogul type steam locomotive on the Strasburg Railroad. Here we have the train coming up to Black Horse Road, and yeah, this was a pretty cool shot. And hey, look, there's another siren right there. It's a Federal Signal Model 2. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And I always loved the Strasburg Railroad. Classic cars and locomotives. It's really, really cool. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool right there. Later on that day, I find myself alongside the Amtrak Northeast Corridor chasing a Norfolk Southern coal train. Led by a Norfolk Southern SD70 Ace. This train was pretty cool, and it's definitely one of the first. Actually, I might take that back, but I still think this was pretty cool, and yeah, definitely worth a mention. Because again, I don't get a lot of trains underneath catenary wires like this. So yeah, this is definitely worth a mention. Another week later, on April 12th, 2025, I find myself at JD, aka Hyattsville, Maryland, filming this CSX M415. Now the interesting thing on this train is that last unit right there. That is an XD&H GB39-2. Now that's very cool and honestly rare because CSX does not own a lot of the D&H. As a matter of fact, they owned nothing of the D&H. So, yeah, I find that pretty cool there. And that's pretty rare and pretty interesting. So, yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool train right there. Okay, folks, here is one of the top catches of 2025 right here. Later on that day, after leaving JD, we head to Brunswick and Shadow Junction for some action on Norfolk Southern and CSX. But on our way home, we stopped in Brunswick and we found this, a Santa Fe War Bonnet C44-9W. This was so cool. I mean, it's even got the Santa Fe logo. This was a very big catch for me. I've never seen a Santa Fe War Bonnet ever. And I finally saw one. This was so cool. I mean, just look at that metallic and awesome paint scheme that is the Santa Fe War Bonnet. Honestly, one of the best catches of 2025. But it is definitely not the best catch that I've gotten this year. There's something even better. But yeah, folks, this is definitely one of the best catches. I'm not saying it's the best catch, but it is one of the best. And it is a huge catch for me and a huge W. I mean, this unit looks so cool. It's actually a Dash 9 it's actually a Dash 9 44CW, but I like calling them C40-9Ws, or yeah, C44-9W is what it is. But yeah, it's cool. I mean, it is awesome. And yeah, guys, it was super cool. So yeah, guys, there it is, Santa Fe War Bonnet C44-9W. So yeah, guys, that was so cool. Ah, but wait, there's more. There always is. Check this out. This is the new Brunswick deadline. They moved the deadline from Cumberland, Maryland to Brunswick, Maryland. And now this is where all the locomotives from Cumberland are being stored, in Brunswick, Maryland. Check out all this cool power. I'm just going to be quiet and let y'all, I'm going to let y'all see this cool stuff. Oh, do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? Here's another big catch. An ex-Conrail SD60M. That was so cool to see. I never thought I would see one of those. But here we are, catching it on the DJI Phantom 4. Or actually, not the Phantom 4. The DJI Mini 4 Pro. And I mean, it was cool. I really, really, really enjoyed seeing that. And I'm glad I caught it on film. So yeah, guys, this obviously really cool. It's a rail fan's dream to see something like this. So yeah, that is just pure coolness right there. On April 18th, 2025, I would find myself at Cove, Pennsylvania, filming this Norfolk Southern 11K with one of the first SD70 ACCs, NS 1800. It is a gold main unit and looks pretty cool, and honestly a heritage unit or a special engine is a special engine, so we have to put it on this list. So yeah, that was pretty cool right there. On April 22nd, 2025, I would find myself on the Strasburg Railroad chasing Strasburg 90, which is a decapod locomotive, in its new paint scheme. This engine looks so good in the new paint scheme. They did a fantastic job with repainting this engine, and it looks so cool. Obviously, the Strasburg Railroad is a very cool railroad, but Strasburg 90 in her new paint scheme looks super cool, and it was just pure awesomeness, and it was a blast to chase this. Chris, we've been through this before, buddy. Where is your permit at to drive one of those?
Touching a frog here, folks.
Why are you operating a locomotive, Chris? Where's the permit at? We've been through this.
Just a little bit.
We have been through this. Why are you operating that?
Bring it down.
I don't think you know what you're talking about. No, I don't. I don't think you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, this is awesome.
It seems like you're speeding there, Chris. I think you may want to bring it down a little bit.
That's a little too slow.
Yeah, you don't have a permit. You shouldn't be operating a locomotive, so why are you operating a locomotive, buddy? I really think you need a permit for that. What are you doing? What are you doing now, Chris? Oh, so now we're gonna tamper with railroad equipment, huh? Why are you ringing that bell, Chris, huh? Do I need to call the railroad police out for you tampering with railroad equipment? And who's that? Who's their buddy there? Why is he tampering with railroad equipment too? Do I need to call the railroad police on you for both of y'all? I think I do. I think I do. After chasing Strasburg 90 on the Strasburg Railroad, we would find ourselves inside the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania. Take a look at all this cool equipment and gems of the Pennsylvania Railroad. It was super cool to see and very enjoyable to learn about and look at, because all this equipment is super cool. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Later on that day, I find myself at Wyomissing, Pennsylvania, filming this Norfolk Southern 10K with something pretty interesting on a flat car. I don't know what you call this thing. It's some kind of subway locomotives of some sort, but no matter what it is, it was still really cool to see. And yeah, I think that was pretty interesting right there. Definitely worth a mention. A few days later after that, I find myself on the Stewartstown Railroad filming this GE 44-tonner locomotive. Now the reason why I filmed this railroad and even visited it in the first place is I have a buddy that I used to go to school with, and he is actually a railroad employee of this railroad, which I find really neat and cool. It's a cool operation, and I found it very interesting, but it gets way better than that. Before we continue on, I would like to give a shout out to my railfan bud / school friend. His name is Sam Bissett. He works for the Stewartstown Railroad, and he was nice enough to let me have a cab tour of this GE locomotive. Now, we can't go through all of this, but we went to school together, and there he is there giving you a rundown of how this engine works. But yeah, we can't go through all of it because we got so much more to do in this video. It's crazy. So yeah, I mean, this was cool, and thank you, Sam. You're a very cool dude. Thank you very much for the cab tour. I will definitely be visiting your railroad again. Alright, guys, let's move on.
This in a while.
Don't forget about the air horn. Can't forget about that, because that thing's so much fun. On May the 10th, 2025, I would find myself in Cumberland, Maryland at Viaduct Junction filming this CSX I-135 with nothing but BNSF power. A BNSF Jevo leading and a BNSF-9 trailing. Pretty cool. It's your average BNSF power, but still very cool, and it was a pretty cool catch. On May the 18th, 2025, I would find myself at BWI through the Marshall Airport, Amtrak and Mark Station, filming the Amtrak Blue Crayola unit. Now, the Blue Crayola unit is a wrap that lasted for many months, but I got it as soon as it came out, and it's a pretty cool wrap, and definitely different from any other Amtrak locomotive, so I think it deserves to be on this list. So yeah, that was pretty cool right there. Towards the end of May, we would film the Reading Iron Force Rambles with our good friend Reading and Northern 2102 again. Here it comes, crossing the bridge, going around the Y, and going to head back down to Jimthorpe, Pennsylvania. And you know me at this point, fellas. I love watching Reading and Northern 2102 make her amazing chugging sound and, you know, just locomotive operating. It's one of my favorite steam locomotives, besides Western Mail and Shay number 6, which we'll get the cast here in very, very shortly. But yeah, this was pretty cool. That sounds so cool. So yeah, that was pretty awesome. And yeah, you know 2102 always deserves to be on this list. May 25th, 2025, I would find myself at the Shepherdstown Bridge filming Norfolk Southern 27A, crossing it. Now, this is a very scenic shot, and this shot is so beautiful that I feel like I have to include it. I mean, look at that shot. I mean, man, that is gorgeous. And you can see the river below. It's really cool. I mean, it is really cool. In the blue sky. We'll have another shot like this at this bridge, but it'll be in the evening time later on in the video. So stay tuned for that. But that is pretty cool right there. On June 6, 2025, I would find myself at Lansdowne, Maryland, capturing something extremely rare on CSX IO31. A GE C40-8W leading CSX IO31. This is extremely rare, and I can almost guarantee you that this will never happen again. This is an extremely rare move that I highly doubt will ever happen again. So yes, that was very cool and an awesome catch right there. 1 week later, on June 12, 2025, I found myself at Pointer Rocks filming CSX M277 with a duo of special units. CSX 4720 and CSX 1776. Two very special units. And I think that was very cool. What a consist. That was awesome. Oh yeah, Parade of Steam 2025. Here we go, baby. Yes, that's right, folks. I enjoyed the first time I did this event, and I went back for a second. Here we have the Parade of Steam 2025 at Cass, West Virginia. This year, Heisler number 6 is leading the pack of the Shays. This was so cool. And again, guys, I talked so many times about Cass in the past. This place is just so awesome. There's so much history here. There's just so many cool locomotives, cool railroad artifacts, and just a great place to watch some old-fashioned history, you know, smoking it up. And, I mean, just come on. How is that not cool? How is that not cool? That is freaking awesome. There's Western Maryland Shay number 6. And there's the whole path right there. This is just awesome. This never gets old. And you bet, guys, we're doing the Cass Scenic Railroad Parade of Steam 2026. You bet we're doing that. And I'm telling you right now, they did a fantastic job with last year's event. The 2025 event, they did a fantastic job. They chose great whistles. It was awesome. While Chaos was fun and enjoyable and awesome, this isn't. I mean, look at the quality of this horrible footage. I can't even believe I posted this on my YouTube channel, but I did. And for one reason and one reason only. That trailing locomotive behind 558. That is the only reason why I posted this, is for that locomotive behind Western Maryland 558. Because that is an ex-Western Maryland SD40, and it is the only YN1 CSX locomotive left in existence. That is the only reason why I posted this video, was for that right there. How cool is that, though? That is awesome. That's awesome. This video isn't. The footage is terrible. The footage is absolutely terrible. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay guys, here is the star of the show for this entire video. The only running Alco PA. Nickel Plate Road 190. Only operational Alco PA in existence. This is by far the best catch of 2025 right here. This was filmed on the Delaware and Lackawanna Railroad, and man, it was an awesome chase. It was awesome. Absolutely awesome. And that's all I can say about it right there. Another week later, we find ourselves at Secaucus, New Jersey, filming the New Jersey Transit CNJ Heritage Unit. Now, that is really cool, and it's a cool looking unit. Kind of almost reminds me of a B&O skin, but it's not. It's the CNJ skin. It's pretty cool, and here's it going ahead and going in the opposite direction. It's a pretty cool looking unit. It's basic, but it's cool though. It is pretty cool. So yeah, that's pretty awesome right there.
Secaucus Junction lower level passengers.
Later on, we see New Jersey Transit's, or NJT's, only F40PH leading this commuter train. Now that is really cool on itself. That is actually really cool. The only F40PH. That is definitely worth a mention. On July 26, 2025, we would find ourselves at Wyomissing, Pennsylvania, filming the Savannah and Atlanta Heritage Unit, leading NS62B, which is a very long trash train. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Another Heritage Unit. Heritage Units always deserve to be on the list. But yeah, that was pretty cool right there. A little later on that day, we find ourselves at Sinking Springs, Pennsylvania, filming the last Norfolk Southern Thoroughbred C44-9W on Norfolk Southern's roster. This is another big top catch for the year, as this unit is leading Norfolk Southern 65K. A loaded ethanol train. I don't know if it's loaded or empties. I'm not sure about that. All I know is that it's some kind of ethanol train, and it is the last Norfolk Southern Thoroughbred-9 on the roster. And to make matters even worse, this unit is now in storage and is going to be rebuilt into an AC-44 C6M, bringing the end of an era to the Thoroughbred-9s. I forgot to also mention that there was a Kansas City Southern New Mexico unit trailing on this train as well, which just adds to the rarity and the characteristics of this train. Our last train for that day would be none other than the Conrail Heritage Unit leading Norfolk Southern 26X. I love that Conrail Heritage Unit. It is such a cool looking unit. I love Conrail, period. So, it is definitely one of my favorite Norfolk Southern Heritage units. That was pretty cool. And yeah, that was a cool train right there. Well, 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 isn't this a rare sight to behold here? A train race happening in downtown Roanoke, Virginia. That's right, folks. Our summertime traincation, vacation, rail fan road trip has finally began for 2025. And the first stop we would stop at is Roanoke, Virginia. And we encountered this train race, which was really cool. And it was not even this that was cool. There was other catches too. So stay tuned. Old, abandoned, forgotten. These old Norfolk Southern iron horses are not pulling freight. As a matter of fact, they're rotting away, waiting to be scrapped. A
long loss of railroading history is going to happen here. But the legacy of these engines will never be forgotten, as these engines have pulled heavy freight trains and have worked themselves to the best of their abilities, and they will never be forgotten. These locomotives have served their purpose, and now they're going to wait the scrapper's torch. This is a part of railroading, and this is a part of what railroads do. Locomotives get old, they get wrecked, and then they get scrapped. Just like humans, they can't live forever. And this is just another deadline in this city of Roanoke, Virginia. A little later that day, we have the Nickel Plate Road Heritage Unit leading a coal train through downtown Roanoke, Virginia. I've seen the Nickel Plate Road Heritage Unit numerous times now, but it is a cool looking unit and it is well deserved on this list. A little later after that, while we were checking out the Virginia Museum of Transportation, this Dash 9 decides to show up. That is a white face Dash 9. They are extremely rare. Extremely rare. And that was really cool to see. A little later after that, we check out the yard and see what we could find in the yard at Roanoke, Virginia. Here we have a couple high hoods. High hood GP38-2s. You know I love them. Those are actually in pretty good shape. A little rusty, but they don't look bad. Man, I love high hood GP38-2s. And then here's a couple slugs. Just a little bit of power. You know, just sitting around in the yard. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. There's a better view of those high hood GP38-2s. That one's really rusty, but the other one doesn't look too bad. It would be so cool if I see one of these operate actually out on the main line of Norfolk Southern. I really want to see that. And I'm not saying that it's impossible, but it's rare. So I gotta be extremely lucky for that. And just hear some action going on in the yard. That's pretty cool. And there's more deadlines right down there. So yeah, this is cool. And yeah, it's a pretty big yard that Roanoke has. It's actually a really big yard. So yeah, that's pretty cool. The next day, we would find ourselves a little bit outside of Charleston, West Virginia, filming this short line railroad. But there's another top catch of the year right here. Not the best, but it is definitely up there. This is an ex-Norfolk Southern SD60 standard cab. I've never seen one of these ever. And I believe that trailing locomotive, I want to say that is an SD45. I believe that is ex-Union Pacific, ex-Southern Pacific. So yeah, that was really, really cool. And a fantastic Nathan P3 air horn. on that unit. That was awesome. The next day, we find ourselves in Huntington, West Virginia, and oh boy, what is that right there? There we have CSX AC 6000 CW, the Spirit of Maryland, number 602. Very cool. Only a handful, only two only exist left on CSX. And then we have a gen set, that's extremely rare. There's a lot of cool stuff in here. But here's just the basics of what you can find in Huntington, West Virginia. And look what else we find. The CSX hydrogen units. I bet a lot of people have not even filmed these. I don't even think these units have left Huntington. Here's just some more units here. GP40s, GP38-2s. Looks like mostly GP40-2s. But still, very, very cool. Oh, you also got some SD40s packed in a pack there too. SD40-2s. You name it, you can see it all in Huntington, West Virginia. So yeah, that's pretty cool right there. A little later on that day, we see Norfolk Southern O2T come across the bridge at Canova, West Virginia. This is a very nice spot to watch trains, especially if you like bridge shots. Right across the river, which is the Ohio River, is of course the state of Ohio. So that bridge crosses the Ohio River, and on the other side of that bridge is the state of Ohio. But look what is on this train. We have Norfolk Southern 6920, the Veterans Unit. What a very cool surprise. Yeah, that was definitely a very cool surprise to say the least. And that's a pretty decent sized local too. So yeah, that was pretty cool. The next day, we would find ourselves in Cincinnati, Ohio. Here we have the Southern Heritage Unit leading 26C, which is a intermodal train. Now, this is the first time I have ever seen the Southern Heritage Unit running under its own power. And it's the first time I've ever seen the Southern Heritage Unit lead. So, this is pretty cool. And I must say, the Southern Heritage Unit, even though it was very famous for the crash that it was involved in, it is a very nice looking heritage unit. Very sleek looking. And it looks like a unit that the Southern Railway would own. So yeah, that was really cool. Very, very cool indeed. A little later that day, we have the Conrail Heritage Unit leading Norfolk Southern 142, a mixed manifest train. Now, we've seen the Conrail Heritage Unit numerous times, but hey, I won't complain, we'll get it again. That's a pretty, again, the Conrail Heritage Unit's a very cool looking heritage unit. Love that Conrail blue. Love that Conrail blue. And that's really cool right there. Now here's something that I thought I would never see again. A CSX GE C40-8W leading a freight train. I never thought I would see this again. And here we are seeing it again in Cincinnati, Ohio. That was so cool. And I'm glad I caught that, because I never thought I would see a Dash 8 lead another train again. So yeah, that was really cool. A little later that day, we have Indiana and Ohio Railway 205, which would be L205, with a ex-Conrail Dash 8 leading Longhood forward. I was actually kind of disappointed that this was leading Longhood forward, because on a Conrail Dash 8, you really want to see the front of the engine, because the marker lights and the low ditch lights and the high headlight, that's what you want to see on a Conrail Dash 8. So I was a little disappointed with that catch, but still cool nonetheless. Even later that day, getting into the late afternoon, we have this Indiana and Ohio Railway C40-9W, or C44-9W, sorry. It's an XBNSF engine, leading Longhood forward. I'm guessing the same train going back to where it came from. Now this is a Dash 9, not a Dash 8, so it doesn't have the high headlight, or it doesn't have the low ditch lights, which is still cool, but it's a little bit of a downgrade compared to the Conrail Dash 8. But still cool nonetheless. Our final train of the day at Cincinnati would be, yet again, another NS-142 with the second AC-44C6M ever to lead the train, NS-4001. So yeah, that was pretty cool. I've seen 4000, but I've never seen 4001. So yeah, that was pretty cool. The next day, we would find ourselves at the New River Gorge Bridge in West Virginia, of all places, to film the Amtrak Cardinal. How cool of a shot is that? I really love that. That is so cool. I understand that this may not be train related, but there is no way that I cannot include this. There's no way that I could not include this. Look at that bridge and look at that scenery. This is filmed on the DJI Mini 4 Pro. I've always wanted to go to the New River Gorge Bridge and just look at this. This is insanity. I'm taking it to the next level, and I'll be honest with you. This is insane. That's what I gotta be honest with you about. It's insane. I can't believe I pulled this off. That is over 1,000 feet in the air from where the river is. And yeah, it is so cool looking. And this was well worth it. I mean, that is just so awesome. And if I could do it again, I would do it again. It is such a cool bridge. It really is. And the scenery is just spectacular. Like, I mean, how could you not include this? I mean, it is that awesome. It really is. It is that cool. This is the kind of stuff that you need a drone for. You can only achieve this with a drone. Can't achieve this any way else. Gotta have a drone for this. And I'm telling you, the results is absolutely spectacular. I mean, it's awesome. It's great. That is one of the most scenic shots I think I've ever pulled off. Ever. I mean, that is so beautiful. I can't believe what I'm looking at. I can't believe I pulled that off. But I pulled it off, and does it look cool? Yes, it does look cool. It is really cool. So yeah, that is the New River Gorge Bridge. We could keep on showing this, guys, but we gotta move on. So let's move on to the next thing. But guys, that is so cool. Go to the New River Gorge Bridge. You will not regret it. It is an awesome, awesome scenic place. The next day, we find ourselves at Salisbury / Spencer, North Carolina. Here we have a little local or yard job or yard switcher sitting on the side as this Norfolk Southern coal train comes towards us. It has none other than the Nickel Plate Road Heritage Unit trailing. Again, we've seen the Heritage Unit several times, but it is a Heritage Unit and deserves to be on this list. Still looks great. Looks like it got cleaned up a little bit since the last time we saw it. But that's crazy. We saw this Heritage Unit 2 times during our vacation. That was awesome. A little later that day, we find ourselves at Spencer, North Carolina, aka the North Carolina Transportation Museum. Here we have a ex-Southern high hood GB30 that is still painted in the Southern paint scheme. It's a high hood. It's not a high hood GB38-2, but it's a high hood. And it's a high hood GB30, so that's pretty cool. The museum likes to run little excursion trains, I guess you could call this, just around the museum for everybody to enjoy a little train ride. Yeah, this was pretty cool, and hey, you got to see some Southern Railway history. Pretty cool. Hey, you also got a little caboose on the back too. It's pretty cool. Never heard of that railway, but still very cool. On August 31st, 2025, we find ourselves back in our home territory of Maryland, Virginia, and Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. Here we have the Conrail Heritage Unit leading CSX M418 at Featherstone, Virginia. Gives me a nice little toot toot. That's always nice, friendly, and awesome. So yeah, never seen the Conrail Heritage Unit, at least the CSX one, lead a freight train. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Ah, but wait, there's more. There always is. Here comes a Amtrak Heritage Unit. I'm not sure which one that is. I think it's Phase 2 or Phase 4? No, it's gotta be Phase 2. I think it's the Phase 2 Heritage Unit. But oh, what is this coming up the line? What, do we have a train race? We did have a train race. Amtrak completely beat this coal train. But yeah, that was kind of cool, a little train race. Even though Amtrak completely beat it by the time it got up to the crossing at Featherstone. But look at the consist here. You got a little bit of everything on that train. A lot of power and a lot of torque. That's what you need for big, heavy coal trains. But yeah, that's pretty cool right there. As you can probably tell by this footage and the jerkiness, I absolutely did not mean to get this train at all. As a matter of fact, I accidentally ran into this Heritage Duo. Leading CSX E733, we have the Seaboard System Heritage Unit. I've seen it leave before, and that still remains one of my favorite CSX Heritage Units. And trailing would be the L&N Heritage Unit. I've seen this one. Never seen it lead, but I've seen it trail before. But it's still a pretty cool Heritage duo. I mean, they kind of look similar. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Did not mean to run into this train though. I was just driving down the road and I just happened to see a train pass, and then I saw that it had the Seaboard System Heritage Unit. But then I looked closer, it's also got the L&N Heritage Unit. So I was like, oh no, we're stopping to get this. So yeah, that's what we decided to do. Yeah, that was a pretty cool catch right there. Totally unexpected though. What is that coming down the line? Is that a European train? What is that? What kind of horn is that? Oh god, that's disgusting. Here we have the new Amtrak Acellas, as they're going to be replacing the old ones. Seriously, they need to get those horns fixed. Another week later, I find myself at Hancock, West Virginia, filming yet again the Seaboard System Heritage Unit, trailing this time on CSX C788. That was pretty cool and a very surprising catch. We were not expecting a Heritage Unit that day. A little later that day, we find ourselves alongside the East Broad Top Railroad, chasing this little Mikado steam engine. Now the reason why this thing's so little is this is a narrow gauge railroad. It is very different from any other railroad I have chased. And that's pretty cool right there. Very cool railroad history right there. Double deck 9-liter! Oh, wow. A double dash 9 liters. That is pretty interesting. And cool, too. On October 4th, 2025, we would set up in front of the M&T Bank Stadium to capture CSX IO31 going past the stadium. This is a really cool shot, and I am very, very happy the way it turned out. I mean, this is an awesome shot. Wow, that is really, really cool. Later on that day, we captured CSX M371 with the New York Central Heritage Unit trailing. Never seen this Heritage Unit lead, always seen it trail, but it's still cool nonetheless. And there it is. Pretty cool right there. On October 18th, 2025, we head out to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania to capture the Gettysburg Railway in action. Listen to this horn, it sounds awesome. Just listen. It sounds... Oh, man, that sounds awesome. Awesome P3 air horn. Wait a minute. Wait. What are you doing walking from my shop, man? Wait, do you want to get run over by a train or something? Some people just don't get it, fellas. Some people just don't get it. Never, ever, ever do that. That is very dangerous. Trains are dangerous. Don't ever walk in front of a train. But still, very cool. Railroad, train, and horn, and locomotive, and everything else. It was super cool. Alright, moving on. About a week later, I would find myself back at Cass, West Virginia, to try to get some excursion trains before they closed for the winter. Well, to my surprise, they would not be running, but they did run this very surprising photo freight that I somehow took a part of. Because I still filmed the train. As you can see here, I'm filming the train leaving Cass. And this train's heading to Durban, West Virginia. So, that is what we were going to be doing in this video. As you can tell, that whistle sounds very nice. So I got a few shots of this train. And it was pretty cool. On November 27th, 2025, I decided to head to Strasbourg to chase one more train for this season. And Strasbourg 89 is the leader. You already know about the Strasbourg Railroad. It is an awesome railroad. It will always be on this list. Well, that's a little embarrassing. Yes, folks, I crashed my DJI Mini 4 Pro, as you could see in that last clip there. I didn't check my surroundings, and I did not see that there was a power line in the way of my pasting. Halfway. So, I crashed my drone. But anyway, getting back to more positive things, here we have the new Western Maryland Circus Paint GE B32-8, number 561, dressed up for the Polar Express train ride. And yes, folks, this was really, really cool, and I've been wanting to see that unit for a while, or that engine, or that locomotive, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that was definitely very cool, and yeah, we'll show you some drone footage here in a minute, so yeah, that was really, really cool, so I'll just leave it at that. A week later, I find myself at Cove, Pennsylvania, filming Norfolk Southern 64K with, yet again, NS 1800 trailing. Pretty cool, interesting catch, and definitely a surprise. Was not expecting to get that. On December 9th, 2025, I found myself at Lansdowne filming CSX M372, but he's got a very special leader on the front. Drum roll, please. CSX M372 has none other than, wait for it, the Pittsburgh and Lake Erie Heritage Unit leading, or the PNLE Heritage Unit. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get this whole train, but we got the head end of it. He was tying down for the night at Lansdowne, so that was a pretty cool catch. Wasn't expecting to get that at all. On December 17th, 2025, I'm set up down at Lansdowne to catch this B729 with Union Pacific Power. Just 2 GVOs, that's about it. And that's going to do it for that train. Not the most interesting train, but still Union Pacific, and I think it deserves a spot on this list. Okay guys, here's another top catch of the year of 2025. I got some words from some of my railfan buddies that CSX M409 had an SD40-2, but it's not just any SD40-2, it was an Ohio Central SD40-2, which is extremely rare. To top this, an SD70 AC leader for the head and power. And I must say, what a train. There's that Ohio Central SD40-2. Definitely another top catch of the year. That was so cool. Alrighty folks, we have finally come to our last and final train of 2025. And this is another top catch of the year. It's not about the front of this train. While there may be a BNSF SD70 Ace leader, this is not what is the special thing about this train. This is not the most special thing about this train. It's in the rear GPUs. Well, you might be asking to yourself, Chris, what is so special about that power? Well, the special power would be none other than a Montana Rail-Link SD70 Ace. How cool is that? A Montana Rail-Link SD70 Ace. And that is what we would end off for 2025. How cool is that? That is awesome. And well, folks, that brings us up to date. We caught a lot of cool things this year. I'm so excited to see what 2026 brings us. We got heritage units, special engines, railroad history, you name it, we got it in 2025. And here comes this SD40-2, the Ohio Central again. Another clip I added it. Well, with that, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for this video. And one more thing. Happy New Year, everybody! We'll see you in 2026!